And please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome back to Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, your place for the Raw and Unscripted show live, the video cast that goes to podcast. So if you ever want to check us out on video cast, if you guys aren't checking us out right now, every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are live on video cast, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and we're bringing it to you live because this is an opportunity for you to ask us questions during the live broadcast. But many of you are checking us out on the podcast, so thank you for that. You are making us a top 10% podcast around the world, and I so appreciate you. We have been going for 5 years, and truth be told, this is episode 269. This is the 269th episode. I've been doing this now for 5 years. We started it back in 2019, bringing you the inspiration, the motivation, and the education. So thank you guys for being here. If you're live watching this, feel free to ask us questions throughout the broadcast. We'll be happy to answer those questions for you. And if you guys haven't been living under a rock, my book, It's Just You and Me, Kid, the story of a mother and son survival on the streets of Southern California. My story of being a 7th grade homeless dropout who went through a lot of stuff in my life to ultimately get my GED, get my master's degree, and become the person that I am today. It's coming out my life story. So if you like inspirational stories, if you want to really understand the ins and the outs of what it takes to become Kickass Unstoppable, I highly, highly encourage you guys to go check it out at itsjustyoumandmekid.com. If you go there, you'll realize that you'll get a bunch of extras to help me make it a bestseller when it comes out later this year. Go to itsjustyoumandmekid.com. You put in your name, your email address. We're going to be doing a bunch of extras, helping you guys at the same time, helping me make it a bestseller. And truly, it's going to be a remarkable book. I've already written it, and actually, I just secured an editor. So we're going through the editing process right now, and it will be out later this year. So go check it out. It's justyoumandmekid.com. It'll give you a synopsis, and you can help me make it a bestseller, and we can change the world. And that's what the show is all about. It's about changing the world from the inside out. It's about realizing that a person in the mirror, the person that you're looking in the mirror at, has the opportunity each and every day to change what it is that you're thinking about, change what it is that you're focusing on, because that's what matters. It's about realizing that if you continue to do what you've always done, you're going to continue to get what you've always got. And I love the fact that when you guys tune in here, every single week I offer tidbits and strategies. My guest offers tidbits and strategies. So you have homework every single week. And you think about this. If you apply 3 of the strategies that you hear in this particular podcast every single week, compounded over a couple of months, compounded over 6 months, the change that you will see in yourself, the change that you will see in your life, the change in the ultimate results and the increase in your confidence, the reduction in your fear, because you're going to realize that the chances you don't take are going to wind up in regrets. And so what we teach here on the show is that you take 1% different action every single day, and that 1% compounds upon itself, so that again, at 6 months, you realize, you look back and you go, wow, I used to be afraid of this, or I wasn't taking any action on this, or I was procrastinating on this, or I was afraid of this, or I was allowing these people in my life. Slowly but surely, you stop the tolerations of yourself, you stop the tolerations of what you're dealing with other people, and you quit the tolerations of other things in your life, and you start gaining that confidence, you start taking that imperfect action. Guess what? You start seeing results, and that all builds upon itself. And the reason why I can tell you this is because this is how I've lived my life, and this is how I've coached people for the last 20 years. Is to take that imperfect action every single day. I call it failing your way to success, because so oftentimes we're living that state of perfection. Oh, when it's perfect like this, or when my husband does this, or when my kids do this, or when the government does this, then I'll take action. And that's called the someday game. And that really doesn't exist anywhere on a calendar. When you think about it, you sit there and you look at a calendar, there is no someday. What there is regrets. And if you ever have read the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying, I highly recommend you go back and read it. You check it out, because in it, the hospice nurse who sat with dying people realized that the number one regret of the dying is the fact that we regret the fact that we lived the life we thought we should live, but we never lived the life we truly were meant to live. If you can imagine that, when you get to the end of your life and you're looking back and you realize all the chances you could have taken, all the fears you could have overcame, the people you could have let go in your life to realize your true potential, that's really sad. And for those of you who are younger, yeah, you think you have all this time left in the world, but I can promise you this, time goes by like that. Time goes by like that. Before you know it, you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. I've got friends of mine in their late 70s, and they're like, Chris, I don't know how much time I have left. And what they're doing is they're making up for finals, and they're going out there and they're doing the things that they thought they should have been doing and wish they would have been doing before. And that's what I encourage you to do on this show. Get out a pen and paper, take down notes, and then from those notes, write them down on sticky notes and put the sticky notes on top of your monitor, put them on your dashboard, and then take that imperfect action every single day and fail your way to success. And I promise you, you will realize that you become a different person and you are meant to be a great person in this world. Stop living in that fear, stop living in the judgment of everybody else, and do your best to succeed. I promise you. So with that, let's welcome our guest to the show. We have an amazing guest. She's been on the show before. She's a dear personal friend of mine. We met over back in the Clubhouse days. We got to riff a lot in these Clubhouse rooms and learn about each other and light a fire under people. So there's going to be no difference in that tonight. Meredith has an amazing story of rags to riches. She's been through lots of different challenges in her life, and she's on an uprise again. And so let's welcome Meredith Solomon to the show, the Raw Unscripted show. What's going on, Meredith? Good to see you.
Hey, what's going on, Christopher? Great to see you.
Yeah.
I'm great to see you. It's been a minute. Yes, it has. It's been about a year.
Yeah.
For real.
Well, yeah, I know we had a lot of feedback on your last show because you were on fire. People sit there and
really?
People were talking about the fact, like, man, I don't know who swears more, she or you. But it's just
I think
passion, right?
Right. That's exactly what it is.
So where does life got you today? What's going on? What do you want to get across most to people tonight that are watching and listening to this show?
Have an attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
Yes, I am grateful. Because, so, last time we talked, I was in Middletown, Ohio. I had been in some trouble. So I was out here in these streets, right? 6 years ago, I got myself together, and it was still a struggle because where I was at was a trigger, you know what I mean? And I could see myself ending up back in trouble again. So I packed up my entire life and moved to Columbus, Ohio. This has been a journey since I've been here. I'm telling you, I can't believe a year later I'm here. Got a great job that's going to turn into an awesome career. I'm in a place. Yeah, I know. I'm so happy. I'm in a good place. I'm in a safe place. I have a phenomenal guy in my life, which has been awesome. Yeah. And I just want to tell everybody that don't let anybody knock you off your square. You know what I mean? Go out here and take the world by the cojones. Mm-hmm. Like Christopher said, time is precious. And if you lose that time, you can't ever get it back. So if there's something you want to do, you better go do it. And do it now. Don't wait till, I'll do it tomorrow, because tomorrow's not promised.
For sure. No, it's true.
Do it now. Go out there and do the damn thing. And it's also been a journey because my son is transgendered. Well, it's my daughter, because now my son. So the main reason why I moved here was to support him in his journey. And that has been a journey. I mean, anybody who has a transgendered person in their family, really think that you should give them credit. Give that person the opportunity to be themselves. There's too many people trying to pigeonhole everyone and say, well, you're supposed to behave this way, or you're supposed to behave that way. And I don't have to do shit but pay taxes. That's it. I really don't even have to do that, but I better do that.
I kind of do, yeah.
Yeah, I got to do that. But I'm just grateful for all of the blessings that have come to me since I've been here. And here I am now. I just got promotion. Comes with a nice big fat raise. My boss actually walked up to me and said, "I'm proud of you," because I've been through some things.
Yeah, you have. Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there, because I want to acknowledge something about you. I've known you for about 3 years, and I have to say this is the most mellow I've ever seen you. What do you attribute that to? Is it because normally you're like a firecracker and going off and woo, and this, that, and the other thing, and you seem there's a sense of peace that's with you, and I really enjoy that. So what do you attribute that to?
Well, the vibe is different up here. It was a struggle, but I have come to peace with everything the fact that I have come so far by myself is epic.
Hell
It
yeah.
really is. Because
Tell
I didn't
everybody
think I
about
had
your
it in me.
backstory. Tell everybody about your backstory because I want people to know, I said the rags to riches, and I don't mean a financial riches. I mean in mental and emotional riches. Talk to people about your backstory because you have been through a lot of shit, girl.
Well, for a while, I was out here in the streets. I was a street pharmacist. I was out here slinging for a minute. And I liked the adrenaline rush. I did at the time. It was like, oh man, I'm out here fucking making money, having a good time, traveling and shit. And it was like, after a while, it's sobering when you finally get caught up.
True.
And I went to a rehab for 6 months. It was a prison rehab. And I was in there for about 6 months and kind of turned me around a little bit. Not saying I found Jesus or anything like that. It was nothing like that. It was just, it was more of therapy. And I knew that because of the trauma I had gone through, I was self medicating
Yep.
and killing myself, basically. Um, it took a lot to address the dark side of myself. When you do shadow work, I'm telling you what, dude, it is the most intense emotional experience that I've ever had in my life because I
What
had to.
explain what shadow work is for people who might not know that.
Okay, so basically, you're getting in touch with the dark side of yourself, the things that you don't like about yourself, and you're also addressing trauma that's been buried. That's what I feel like it is. Now, somebody might say differently, but it's really addressing those parts of yourself that you don't like. I realized that some of the things that I was doing out here in the streets were obviously not the best things to be doing. And then addressing trauma of being molested for so many years and stuff, that's really hard to deal with, especially the forgiveness part, because not only do you have to forgive your abuser, you have to forgive yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really hard pill to swallow, forgiving my abuser, but people have to understand that it's not your fault that you went through all this.
True.
A lot of times your abuser has gone through the same shit. So you kind of have to step into their shoes. And like I said, that's the hardest thing ever because I had hate for this person and I don't hate anybody. But yeah, you just really have to dig deep and just address all that shit because people carry that with them. And that was another thing I wanted to address. Let that shit go.
How do people let that shit go? So many people say that. I say that every once in a while. I've got my ways, but I'd love for people to hear from you about that forgiveness component and how to let that shit go. Because I was giving somebody the analogy the other day, and I said, "Does it feel like you're carrying like this whole bag of regrets and anger and animosity and resentment? Does it feel like you're just carrying that around every single day? You go to sleep and you wake up and you, let me put this bag of shit on my back. It gives me a reason to be a victim. It gives me a reason to blame people. It gives me a reason not to be successful. How do people let that shit go?"
At a certain time in your life, you have to realize that a lot of shit just doesn't serve its purpose in your life, especially carrying baggage like that.
Mm-hmm.
Some people attribute their poor behavior to their parents raising them shitty, or I got into so much trouble as a kid, or things of that nature. And a lot of times, it's just that person hanging on to this shit. And I'm sorry if this sounds rude, but as a crutch.
Oh yeah,
No, it's a crutch.
It's true.
And it just comes to a point in your life that you have to realize that sometimes you're the problem.
100%.
And
when did you realize that you were part of the problem?
When I was locked up, basically.
Reality meets, right? Here's the
Yeah,
hard
reality sets in.
situation.
Like, I'm out here fucking up. You know what I mean? And I don't need to be in my 50s, which I'm now going to be 54 in a month. Um, you just you just have to realize that there's things that are inside of you that might be due to your abuse and stuff like that. You just need to address, and it just comes to a certain point in time in your life. You just got to let the shit go. Just let it go. It's easier. People say it's hard, and it is hard. It's hard as fuck to I guess say walk away from things that have happened in your life, but it's just understanding that what's happened to you in your past does not define who you are today.
1,000%. So a lot of people will repress stuff, or they'll suppress it, or they'll think
Mm-hmm.
that they think they've forgotten it, or they think they've let
And
it
your
go.
brain,
But how do you know
brings
that
it
you've truly let it go?
when you're at peace with yourself.
Amen. So you feel that you're at peace with yourself? I sense a peace with you.
I'm at peace in some aspects of my life. There's others that I'm trying to adjust to. Again, I just moved back in with some roommates. So I'm getting adjusted to being with other people because I was by myself for 6 months, and it was kind of nice, but it gets kind of lonely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a sociable person, so I like having people around me. There are times that I do sequester myself. Like today, I've been chilling in my room. This is where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I put in I'd say about 30 hours in 2 days of
Wow.
work. Part of it was for my sign off becoming a manager because I had to meet with my field leader. So I had to go through a little bit of training because I will be crunching numbers now, getting more responsibility in addition to basically being the heart of the store because the grill drives the restaurant.
Right.
If if the food's behind, everybody's behind. So yeah, it's been, I'm still kind of in shock. Like I've actually done it. Like they finally signed off on my paperwork.
I'm so
It
proud of you.
hasn't hit. Thanks. I'm proud of me.
You should be. Hell yeah.
I'm proud of me. Um, but yeah, I'm just grateful. I'm thankful.
I mean, that's really what it's about. So many times we're focused on the things that we don't have, or we're focused on the things we're angry at, or, those different things. But,
Right.
it's the fact that we get to wake up every single day. Like, me, the first thing I do in the morning before my eyes open is I say what I'm grateful for. The next thing I do is I set my intentions. My intention is to be present and playful with my son. My intention is to use my words and my actions to make this world a better place. My intention is not to be negative. My intention is to show love to people. And then throughout my day, I make sure
That's the
I
main
check,
thing, not being negative.
check in.
Not being negative. Because
Yeah.
you draw negativity to yourself when you are.
Right. It's all frequency.
It's all frequency. If people don't seem to understand it, wonder why is all this shit going on in my life? Well, a lot of times, some people like chaos and confusion. I've learned that. Some people are just they cannot function unless there's some shit going on. Me, I'm sorry, I do not like drama. I just like to live a peaceful existence. And if I sense drama, I remove myself from it immediately.
Good. Doesn't that piss people off? Don't they sit there and say, what's going on with Meredith? Why is she being all uppity? Why are you being all that in a bag of chips?
I know they think that I'm being uppity, and I'm not. I'm just me. You know what I'm saying? It's just who I am. I am self-aware, and I'm happy with myself, and that's where we come into the part about loving yourself, because I went through this stage where I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. Went through this body. You've heard of body dysmorphia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't feel that I was attractive, but I don't know. I somehow plowed through that, and now it's like I just really feel good about myself. Yes, I get glammed up, I get dolled up and stuff just to sit in the house sometimes, but it makes me feel good. You know what I mean? Do what the fuck makes you feel good. Don't
That's
let
true.
anybody else Don't let anybody else tell you how to live your fucking life. Live
Mm-hmm.
your life the way you want to live it, and whatever makes you happy makes you happy, and what if it makes you happy makes me happy. So that's where I'm at with that, for real.
Mm-hmm. The world needs more of that. Let me ask you this question. So many people are sitting there saying, Chris, I'm doing the best I can. What do you think? What can we tell people that are watching and listening to this when they sit there and say, I'm doing the best I can? What are your thoughts on that? Because for me personally, I know without a shadow of a doubt, when I say I'm doing the best I can always stop and sit there and, Chris, are you really? What excuses do you have popping up? What things are you procrastinating on? What things have been, on your to-do list for a while? What things are you complaining about or anything like that? What is it for you when you know that Meredith is doing her best?
I know I can do better. I guess it's what's called intestinal fortitude. I have the strength to plow through adversity. You heard that fortitude, right?
Right.
I have the strength to plow through adversity. Um, and I know I can do better. And I strive to do better. It's just an innate drive in myself to do better. And, you know, people say, well, I can't do this because, well, that's an excuse. You can do
Yep.
anything you fucking want to do. It's just a matter of whether you want. It's a want and a drive to do it.
It almost has to be
You
a
can do
need.
it.
You almost have to need to do. I need to be
It's
my
a
best.
it's a
I need
need
to
to
go.
be
Yeah.
my best self. So it is. And so every day I get up, like you said, I set my intention that I'm going to be the best that I can be. I'm going to be the best that I've ever been. I'm going to be better than I am now. And it works for me. Um, for me, just the fact that I know that I can go higher than where I'm at now. It's just a drive. I'm just going to do it. And so it's like Nike says, just do it.
Mm-hmm. So how do you overcome your excuses? What excuses do you have or did you have, and how do you overcome those? Because so many people
Um,
are hung on to their excuses. Chris, I can't afford it. Chris, it's too hard. Chris, I don't have the time. Chris, I don't know how.
it's too hard. That's the thing.
Uh-huh.
It's too hard. Being a kitchen leader is hard. It's like the beginning of that's kind of like the low man on the totem pole in management. Not that that's a bad thing, but you have to be in the damn trenches. That's the hardest part.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I would get pissed off and be like, "What the fuck? Why am I doing this?" Okay, so sometimes I end up doing dishes. I fucking hate doing dishes, but at first I bitched about it. But it's like it's my fucking job. Just do it. Put my earbuds in and just do it. Put my speaker on and just do it. I get into it's a mindset.
Right.
It's pretty much it's a mindset that
It's a
I
groove,
know
right?
that
You got to find your
it's a
groove.
groove. You got to find your mojo,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I'm finding my mojo.
What do you define
Yes, I
as
am very mellow. My mojo, my drive,
your why,
my
right? It's the big
incentive,
when I tell
my
people when you have a big enough
why.
why, you have a big enough how. So what is
Big enough
Meredith?
how my why is because I I want to have a certain lifestyle. I want to. I just want to be happy, and I'm getting there. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know how to describe it. It's indescribable. But I just know my why has to do with my own personal goals, what I want to do. Um, and sometimes I feel like I have to prove shit to other people. Sometimes
Yeah,
I feel that way. Like, yeah, I did this and I can do it because
I
you said
feel
I
you.
couldn't do it. People say, oh, you're not going to be able to do that, or you're not going to be able to handle that. And like, how the fuck do you know what I can and can't handle? This is my life, so you can't tell me what I can and can't handle. A lot of times, I feel like people use that as an excuse. Well, everybody's saying I can't do it. Well, who the fuck is everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Who is everybody, or who is somebody, or who is they? Who are they? They aren't shit. I attribute that. I use an analogy of a bucket of crabs. You know, you have a bucket of crabs. There's always
Yep.
one that's trying to get out. The other ones will try to pull it down back into the bucket with it, even going as far as breaking its legs to keep them down in there. A lot of people have to understand that there's always going to be somebody who does not want to see the clothing of growth on you, and they're going to try and keep you from being the best version of yourself you can be.
Yeah. What part of that is having to let people go in your life? Because I know for me, there's been different junctures in my life where people have been negative or they've been, condescending or been whatever. And I've had to wish them well. Even my sister, I had to wish my sister well.
Shut it down.
Yeah. How do you
know? Shut it down.
Because like so many times we don't want to give up on people. We don't want to be an asshole.
If
but
it's something,
I say you got to protect your own space.
When somebody makes me question my value or my worth, that's when it's time to let that motherfucker go.
Do you tell them first? Do you give them an opportunity to change? Or do you just pitch them to the curb?
No, I don't pitch people to the curb. I just don't do that. Sometimes you just have to love people from a distance when they start acting like that. It's like, all right, obviously you're not happy for my success. And obviously you're miserable and misery loves company. So you're going to try to make me miserable or gaslight me or try to make me feel like shit because you're stuck where you're at. And it's not my fault. You're where you're at because that's where your mind's at. Your mind got there first. You just followed it.
Right.
And I just see ya. Let him go. I don't just, like I said, I just don't just kick people to the curb because I can still be your friend, but I can still love you from a distance. We don't have to kick it. We don't have to share each other's vibe because I'm not going to get into your negative shit because I'm just not.
Mm-hmm.
I'll walk away.
Right. Earlier, we talked about forgiveness. You talked about forgiving other people. And we talked about, you kind of mentioned love, self-love. And I think that's one of the most important factors in people finding that inner peace. I mean, I think you found that inner peace. I found that inner peace for the most part. What is it about that we can recommend to people watching and listening to this to find that self-love aspect? So many people are out there judging themselves and being harsh on themselves. And, I haven't done this and I haven't done that. And I screw this up and I never. How can we find that self-love component and really what are some tangible things that people can do to start loving themselves first?
Well, just the main thing is to talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend, because at the end of the day, you are your own best friend. So
Amen.
If you show love to somebody else, take that love and put it within yourself and be like, I am worthy, or just start doing affirmations. That helped me a lot. I have a poster up in my room that has I am, and it just says I am worthy, I am confident, I am enough. That's a powerful statement. I am enough. And if people remember that and tell themselves that every day, so it takes 21 days to develop a habit. Tell yourself that when you get up in the morning before you get out of bed, just say, I am enough. You can do that every day for 21 days and watch what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gotta speak it into existence.
Speak it into existence.
Yeah, and so many times we're sitting there like I ask people who do you love the most? And 99% of the time it's my son, it's my husband, it's my cats, it's my dog. And I'm like, you have to love yourself the most first, because without the love for yourself, and I tell people like this, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about yourself? I feel a 6. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love your son? A 10. I'm like, okay, if you feel a 6 about yourself, then you're really only giving your son a 6. You're not giving your son a 10 because you're not taking care of yourself to that point of being a 10.
Right.
My son has this great book. It's called Filling Buckets. And in that book, I mean, it's for kids, but it talks about you can't pour from an empty bucket. You can't fill somebody's bucket. You can't fill somebody's bucket who has holes in their bucket. And so many times as kids, we're taught to be not selfish. Like, stop being selfish, Meredith, do this and do this and do this for others. And so we wind up with this stigma about life that it's being selfish to pour into our own bucket first. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so yeah, you have to be selfish. Yes, because you have to think of yourself. You have to take care of you before you can take care of anybody else. You have to give yourself self-care, freaking pamper yourself, take care of yourself, freaking take your vitamins, eat healthy. You know what I'm saying? Get plenty of rest, which of course, right now in this day and age, I think people get an average of 4 hours of sleep anymore. But you have to take care of yourself. And once you start taking care of yourself, that's where the self-love comes in, because then you start feeling good about yourself. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, I'm just, I'm happy with me. Um, I know I'm a loving, caring person, but I also know that I got to take care of myself first. And that's important.
It's true. It's
Very
true.
important.
That's why I tell people I call it the 5: hydration, nutrition, sleep, exercise, and vitamin D. So many times we're not even drinking enough water. I ask people, how much water are you drinking? "Oh, I don't drink any water." I'm like,
Yeah.
you're like 80% water. Your body's made up of water. You're dehydrated, so you feel like shit. So you go to your short-term gratifications. You're trying to run away from your life. You eat shitty food because you really don't care. And then you wonder why you feel like shit. You wonder why your sleep's crap. You're not getting enough good sleep. And then it's this vicious cycle over and over again until what? We finally crash. And I know for
Yep.
me that when my adrenals crashed back in 2007, I was like,
I think I remember. Oh,
I was so flat out exhausted. I couldn't even see straight. And so I went to the doctor and I said, I am so tired. I'm falling asleep at work. I'm falling asleep when I'm driving. I said, what's going on? They did a bunch of blood tests and they came back and they said, your adrenals are shot. And I said, okay, what kind of medicine can I take to fix it? And they said, you can't take any medicine, Chris. You need to rest. And I was burning myself out. I was wearing it as a badge of honor. Oh, I get, like you said, I get the 4 hours sleep. I'm working 12 hours a day. I'm getting promoted. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm helping these people. I'm da 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 da. And then I was flat out. And it took me months and months and months to start feeling half as better as I was at that particular time. And I started having to really love myself, and I had to start not overloading myself with everybody else's crap. And so
that's the thing. That's the thing.
Take on everybody else's crap. Oh, I got to deal with my mom's stuff, and my son's stuff, and my friend's stuff. I was just telling my wife the other day, and I said, how do you tolerate talking to this person? I won't say the person's name, but she every time I hear their conversation on speakerphone, I'm like, it's all about her, and it's all about the same shit over and over again. Oh, I have to take care of my mom, and I have to do this, and oh, my back hurts, and oh, this, and oh, this is terrible, and oh, the government, and oh, this, and oh, this. I'm like,
and there's that negativity.
How do you listen to that? I am like stressed out hearing her over the phone. Like, how do you do that? You know, it's crazy what it is that but people have these excuses and they wear it like a badge of honor. But there's also this component of life that people live in fear. I'm afraid of this. Yes. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of this. What
self-sabotage?
So what are you afraid of, Meredith? And what are you working on to overcome that fear? Let's talk real time now. What are you afraid of, and how are you working on that?
I know this might sound bad, but I have no fear. I'm not even afraid to die, because when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. It's nothing. I think fear stems from instances where we have no control over what
100%,
happens.
100%.
And that's where the fear comes in. Say like you're moving like out of state or whatever to a new place, and you're scared to death of what's going to happen. When I moved to Columbus, I was scared as hell. I'm like, this is a big ass city. I'm from Detroit. Columbus is 10 times the size of Detroit. And I'm like, I was nervous coming up here.
What were you scared of specifically?
Well, the crime rate's high, so I was scared of getting robbed or something. You know what I mean? Getting shot. I mean, there's a lot of that shit that goes on, but I feel like that.
So you are afraid of dying?
You attract. Well, I don't want to get shot. I mean, who wants to get shot? I definitely don't want that to happen. But can't say I'm afraid of dying, because you don't know how that's going to happen.
Yeah, I know. I think about that a lot.
You got no control over that shit. And like I said, it was your time to go. It's time. So I fear my mom. I'm just kidding. I don't fear my mom. Now, I do fear her in the fact that I respect her. She's my mother. I would never disrespect her. And other than that, I really don't have a fear of anything. But
so people listening to this, they're afraid of the economy. They're afraid of the government. They're
people, we don't have control over that.
Climate.
We have no control over that.
Mm-hmm.
So why stress about it? Why bitch about something? If you're not going to change it, shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Do your part. You're afraid of
Do
climate
your
change?
part.
Get out there and be an activist. Go out there and make sure you got an electric car. Make sure you're doing your part.
Yeah, do your part.
Of course, I don't know if electric cars are any better, because now they're talking about all the batteries and all that other shit. And that's the problem I'm having with life right now, is I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't watch the news or follow politics, but I don't know what to believe about Russia. I don't know what to believe about the presidential election. I don't know what to believe about climate change.
I don't believe about nothing.
I feel like climate change is happening. I feel like it's hotter than it's ever been. There's people in India that are dropping dead because it's 130 degrees over there, But you're absolutely right. It's that fear of not being in control. I was trying to think about it years and years ago. Why am I afraid of heights? I used to never be afraid of heights. Why don't I like being in airplanes? It's that absolute, I'm not in control. Like they say, it's statistically more probable to die in a car accident or be in a car accident than be in a plane accident. But
close to your house.
If I'm in a car, I know I have control. But if I'm in a plane, I was just actually watching the movie Plane with Gerard Butler yesterday, and oh my God, that was fucking horrifying. Don't watch that before you're going to fly. That's for sure. But it's that
I don't fly.
feeling of not being in control. But you're 100% right, Meredith. What are we really in control of? We're in control of what we focus on. We're in control of the physical actions that we take. We're in control of our thoughts. But so many times we send that up to everybody else.
And we need to stop doing that. Stop giving up your power to other people. Stop giving people the keys to your happiness. Because 9 times out of 10, they'll drop the ball, lose the key, and then what? You're fucked. So, yeah. But I think that's where fear stems from. We don't have control over the things that go on in our lives. I know when I get up in the morning, I don't know what I'm going to face that day. You know what I'm saying? But I don't have a fear of getting up, because I know I do know I have a routine. I'm getting up, my ass is going to work. I don't know what I'm going to face when I get to work. Somebody could come up in there shooting and shit one day.
Oh, yeah.
Do I have control over that? Absolutely not. So why stress? Besides that, it drives up your blood pressure. It's not good for you.
We were talking about that before we went on camera, right?
We were talking about that earlier. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. But yeah, that's funny that you said I'm more mellow. I feel it. I am. Because I was 100%. The first time I was
I'll post the link. I'll post the link to the last show. Here, let me find it. I'll post the link to the last show, and people can go here and listen and see for themselves. But yeah, you're definitely in a different spot, and I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you because, I mean, like I said, I've known you for 3 years now, and I've seen the ebbs and flows of Meredith, and I know a lot of other people have as well. So what when people want to find peace in their heart and peace in their life, what are some questions that they can ask themselves in order to get to that spot?
Ooh. I would say ask yourself, what is it that makes you happy? Are you doing what makes you happy? What is it?
Is happiness realistic anymore? I feel so many people don't even think they deserve happiness.
That's the thing. You deserve it. Everybody deserves to be happy. Me, I don't know how to explain it, Christopher. I just come to a point in my life that I have to be at peace, because there's no point in me worrying about shit anymore. You know what I mean? I really don't know these questions that people would ask themselves, because I guess the only thing I can say is just ask yourself, what is it that you're doing that makes you happy? And if what you're doing is not making you happy, then you need to change some things, and that's what coaches are for. They help you figure out what it is that you want and how to go about acquiring those things that you want, and how to go about finding the happiness that you want.
It's true.
Pretty much in a nutshell. That's what it is.
Well, I know a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed right now. They're feeling overwhelmed at the economy. I feel the weight of the world in terms of, what's going to happen, the potential civil war, the potential, of the presidential election. I just saw a news headline saying Russia's going to retaliate because the U.S. gave Ukraine bombs that just bombed Russia. So I feel the weight of the world in terms of just the density of people feeling overwhelmed. But what do you say to people who feel overwhelmed? I mean, you know, there's the things that we have to do. We have to go to work. We have to deal with our spouses and partners and stuff like that. But what are some ways that people can dissect that overwhelmingness? And perhaps, you know, if they can just get rid of a few things, they'll start to feel a little bit of less pressure. What are some suggestions that you have?
Make a list of those things that's stressing you out, and then prioritize what it is that you really need to do. And also learn how to compartmentalize things, because that's the hardest thing for a lot of people to do. Because, like, okay, if I know something outside of work is stressing me out, I'm not carrying that shit into the doors at work. You see what I'm saying?
How do you let that go when you get to work? I mean, because a lot of people just unconsciously carry it with them.
I have the ability to focus on the present. Stay in the present. You can't change anything that's happened in your past, and you definitely have no control over what's going to happen in the future. So just stay focused and present. Stay in the now. Don't worry about what happened. Don't worry about what happened 10 minutes ago, and you can't worry about what's going to happen 10 minutes later.
It's true.
Period. Dot.
Mm-hmm. Mic drop.
Right. Boom.
It really is. I mean, that's what I have to tell myself. It's like, I have no control over what's going to happen. And what statistics show is 98% of all of our fears never happen. Our fear of flying, our fear of this, our fear of that. But so it's all made up in our brain, but it holds us back. It holds us back from taking that imperfect action. It holds us back from truly living. And so many people who are listening, not necessarily maybe to this show, but in life are existing. They're, like I said before, they're playing that someday game, and they're thinking that, oh, when this happens and this happens and this happens, then I'll be happy. When I have more money, when I have more fame, when I have better health, then I'll be happy. But just choose to be happy right now. Like I know somebody, and I'll give people an example. I had somebody who has listened to the show for quite some time, is a personal friend of mine, and he didn't take care of his health. He's older than I am. And he wound up not taking care of his bowel movements. And he's like, oh yeah. He goes, I didn't shit for like 2 weeks. And all of a sudden his colon burst. He wound up on a colostomy bag. And he tells me, Chris, he goes, I would love to go back to my former self, my previous self, and say, you know, Mike, you could take a crap on your own. He goes, right now I'm on a colostomy bag. I have to puree my food. I have to do all these things. He goes, just be grateful for the small things. Be grateful for your family in your life. Be grateful for the breath you take. I know people that had COVID that were in the hospital, that were on ventilators, and normally they took for granted their health. And like, dude, every breath that I take now, I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful. I don't worry about all this other shit. It is what it is. You know, I tell people the 5 words. It is what it is. It's what we focus on. And it's our intentions about that and who we prioritize. Like you said, prioritizing ourselves, prioritizing the beautiful people we allow in our life, prioritizing what we focus on. I tell people to stop watching the news and following politics. I mean, there's really not a whole lot you can do. You could be informed, yes, but you can't stress yourself out every single day about it. Whoever's going to become president is going to become president. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And we're going to figure it the fuck out like we always do. We're going to figure it the fuck out. Whatever happens is going to happen. And my belief over everything is I do feel the weight of the world. It's just my empathic nature, because cognitively, I know there's nothing I can do about it. And I tell myself, but I just feel the pressure. But at the same time, I have this belief, I have this overarching belief that most of humanity is amazing. We may disagree on things and have different choices of who it is we're going to vote for and vaccinations and all that crap. But I truly believe in my heart of heart, Meredith, a heart of hearts, that if something goes down, that the people in my neighborhood, the people in my communities are going to band together, that they're going to support one another. They're not going to say, well, who did you vote for if you need a meal? People are going to be like, hey, let's all be
you might run into some people like that shit.
Yeah. So for me, that's how I release my anxiety, is I'm like, Chris, maybe this all needs to happen to show what a beautiful world we really are. What are your thoughts on that?
I think maybe we do need to go through some things to become unified as one.
Yeah.
Because we're all in this together.
100%.
So we all just need to get our heads out of our asses and start being kind to one another and stop all this bullshit with trying to separate people based on religion, race, color, sex, creed, what the fuck ever.
Yeah.
We all just need to get along. And like my dude says, what is it? Don't bitch about, be grateful for the things you have and stop bitching about what you don't.
It's true. It's true. I tell people all the time, I know millionaires, billionaires, I know famous actresses, I know famous musicians, and every single one of them has told me, Chris, and I know that I think Jim Carrey recently said this in a quote. No, it wasn't Jim Carrey. It was somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but the gist of it is, I wish everyone could have a ton of money so that they could realize it's not what brings happiness. Of course,
Money's energy.
It's nice to pay bills and it's nice to be able to do those things. But so many people think, oh, if I was famous. No. It was what's his nuts that died. Matthew Perry. He wrote it in his book.
Yeah.
He goes, I thought getting the best TV show and all that was going to answer all my problems. He goes, it just made all my problems worse and bigger. And so when we sit there,
more money you make,
going back to your gratitude thing, it's like, yeah, more money and all that other stuff is great for a moment, but unless you're whole inside, and you got that love for yourself, and you're enjoying the moment, which always I sit there and think, like, am I being present with my son? That's one of my intentions every day, be present and playful with my son. If I find myself in my head or at my ass about something, I'm like, he's only going to be 7 once, Chris. He's going to be 17 in 2 seconds. Be right in the fucking moment. Be right in the moment right now.
Oh my
so
God,
I snap
that
myself
resonates.
back into that. I'm like, did I set the intention to be not present with my son? He deserves the best part of me. And so I think of, based on our conversation, we'll wind it up, is the fact, love yourself, surround yourself with the right people, focus on being present, focus on gratitude, pour into your own bucket first, let that shit go, find forgiveness and love in your heart for yourself, and just go out there and be the best possible version of yourself every single day, that 1% improvement every single day, like you've been doing. I've known you for 3 years and I've seen your ups and downs, and the person I see in front of me today, I'm so dang proud of who you are and what you become. And I'm just so thankful for you to be here on the show and sharing your wisdom, because I know people are listening to this going, wow. And I will put the link to your previous episode. I was trying to find it here quick, because they're going to go back and they're going to be like, damn, she was off the rails right there. And now the sense of love, and you've got that love in your life. You talked about, having this great man in your life, right? You wouldn't be able to attract that man in your life, that person in your life, without doing the work that you've done. And to what you said before, so many people sit there and say, but Chris, it's going to be hard. And to people, I sit there and I pause and I look at them and I say, you know what's going to be? It's going to be worth it, right? Think about all the shit you've been through in your life. Isn't it worth it?
It's worth it. It really is. And there's no place to go but up.
Mm-hmm. So Meredith, are you on social media? Where can people, if they want to connect with you and just say thank you, where can they find you at? I know I'll post your Facebook link in the promo of the show.
Yeah, that's really that would be the best place, is my Facebook link. I post a lot of inspirational reels and things of that nature. That's what I've been doing. I also collect stars, and 30% of my stars of what I get goes to homeless. Columbus has a homeless problem here, and it's bad. It's really bad. And especially now with it getting hot, there's so many people out on the streets right now. And even people you would never even expect to see out here are out here with grocery carts with all their fucking belongings walking down the street. And it's like, it's kind of sad.
Very sad.
But Columbus did get a bunch of funding to build stable housing for these people that are out here. I've run into people that literally just got out of jail, got no place to go. They're out on the street. And that's crazy. All you're doing is recycling that person back into the same shit that you pulled them out of in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a friend of mine who's very active with the first responders. And so I try and participate with them in their charitable events. I'm hoping to possibly go to Middletown here around October and maybe do another speaking gig. I had a friend of mine who's also an advocate for the homeless down in Middletown and had me get up on stage. You remember when I told you about that?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago. And people still walk up to me when I've gone back there. And they're like, oh, yeah, I remember you talking. You actually inspired me to do this, that, da-da. And I don't have a big head about it. I'm always trying to inspire other people. And in doing so, it's a selfless act. It's not selfish because I do things not expecting anything in return.
Right.
Blessings will come.
They do. They do. You're a blessing in my life, my dear. I'm going to put you backstage. Don't go anywhere because I still want to rap with you for a minute. But
All
I'm
right.
going to close out the show, but don't go anywhere.
All right. Thanks for letting me share today.
You're a rock star. There you go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, 50 minutes of pure inspiration, pure real talk. I mean, you want to talk about one of my episodes being real talk. This is the real talk episode. I've known Meredith for a number of years. Like I said before, she's been on this different trajectory. And the person that you heard tonight and you saw tonight is in such a great place. And that comes from that hard work. And that hard work is not easy. But when you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, when have you learned and grown the most? When things were easier, when things were challenging? And I know I look back on my 55 years in this world as a kid, as a teenager, in my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, and now my 50s. I turned 55 this year. And it really has dawned on me my mortality and how much time I may have left. And that's why it's so important to sit there and realize that you never get to a spot where your problems are solved. You never get to a spot where you have all the money in the world. You never get to the spot where your ego is satisfied and you have all this validation. It's an ongoing segment of what it is to be living. To be living in this world. You should be grateful for your challenges. I know that people who have been, who have become paralyzed, who have had multiple sclerosis, who have had muscular dystrophy, who have went through from quote unquote being normal to having some sort of ailment or having cancer or having anything that you want to put in that space. And they go, Chris, I would give anything to be back and have all those problems. Because when you think about it, all the problems that you have right now, hopefully you don't have cancer. But let's just use that as an example. If you went to the doctor tomorrow and found out you had stomach cancer, you had brain cancer, you had pancreatic cancer, you had lymphoma, you had, leukemia, whatever it might be, really stop and think about this. If you had that tomorrow, would you be so worried about what your friends said or what was going on in the news or what the credit card company said? Or would you now be realizing like, holy shit, I took yesterday for granted. I took the last 10 years for granted. I was worrying about the future when it's never going to come now, right? Be present in the moment. And like Meredith and I said, the biggest thing, and it's not hyperbole, it's not any bullshit. Be grateful. Be grateful. I get to eat food. Like I've said, I've known people who have been in situations where they had to puree their food. I've known people in situations on chemo and they couldn't eat because they were sick to the stomach and they lost a ton of weight. Right? Do you have a bed to sleep in? Do you have people that love you? Do you have technology? Right? Everybody's walking around with a mobile fucking computer in their pocket. Like if you sit there and say you don't know how to do something, or I've got my financial problems, or I got relationship problems, or I got ADD, or my kids got this. Go to your computer, go to your phone and type in how to fix this, how to solve that. What are the top 10 solutions for ADD? What are some natural alternatives to ADHD? What are some natural alternatives to inflammation? Right? I know for myself, I used to be in a lot of fucking pain. And then I started researching it and I found out that it wasn't pain pills. It wasn't stretching. It wasn't anything else besides the fact of eliminating inflammatory foods from my diet. I eliminated alcohol, which is high in sugar. I dropped my salt content enormously. I stopped white flour. I stopped wheat. There's a great book out there called Wheat Belly. I stopped eating inflammatory foods. My intensive pain that I used to experience for decades started to disappear. It's still there, but where it was an 11, now it's a 6. Now it's a 5. Some days it's an 8, but it used to be an 11 every single fucking day. But I typed in and I'm like, tell me more about inflammatory foods. What are some supplements that I can take? And sure, I miss drinking. I haven't had a drink in 8 months, but guess what? My pain, I will exchange the fact of being buzzed and not have this pain anymore. And it's amazing. I'll tell people like, oh, I'm in so much pain, or I feel like this. I'm like, quit eating sugar, quit eating flour, quit eating bread. Oh, Chris, but you're telling me to deprive myself and that sounds miserable. But yeah, but you get the results. And when you start to feel better, you start to do better. And when you start to do better, you start to see the results and it becomes this fulfilling circle. And then you start realizing, oh man, I feel better. I don't need to tolerate that bullshit in my life. I could be really grateful for the fact that I have a ceiling fan going on right now. I could be really grateful that I had the opportunity to have my air conditioning on right now. I could be really grateful that after this, I get to go out downstairs and spend time with my family. My family's here. I know somebody that recently lost their wife to cancer. And man, he's sitting there like, Chris, cherish your family moments. And I already do. But the heart that I could feel from him and telling me to do that, I could feel this void in him. And I could feel that he took that for granted, that every day he was going to come home and his wife was going to be there. And now she's gone. And now he has to learn those lessons. And now their kids don't have their mom anymore. Cherish your moments, be grateful, and be around people who are grateful and not hateful. So if you dug this episode, please share that. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. If you want to check more about what I'm all about, go to noexcusescoach.com, noexcusescoach.com. I have a group coaching program that is insanely affordable. You get around me, you get around other people who are positive, you get accountability in your life. Again, you start achieving your goals and your actions, and you start feeling better. 6 months to a year, you can be a completely different person for a low investment every single month. I do it out of the goodness of my heart because I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve, to make this world a better place, that if tomorrow I die for whatever reason, I know all you motherfuckers are going to show up and say, oh my God, Chris inspired me. His podcast inspired me. His YouTube videos inspired me. His posts inspired me. His talks with me inspired. Whatever it was, I know that I'll be remembered for making a difference in this world because I have a big enough why. So ask yourself, what's your why? And then wake up tomorrow and set the intention to accomplish it and never give up on yourself or anybody else that deserves that. And make sure that you're not tolerating the bullshit in your life and you're pouring into your own cup with your hydration, your nutrition, your sleep, your exercise, and your vitamin D in every single way and every single day. Enjoy your moments. I love you guys. We'll be back here next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Live, we're on the video cast or wherever you get podcasts. Subscribe to us, share this out. And I love you guys. And we'll see you here next time on the Raw Unscripted Show.